One day, Rabbi Eliezer prayed to the Almighty for a vision of Elijah. Elijah the prophet appeared before Rabbi Eliezer and said to him, "What can I do for you, Rabbi?" Rabbi Eliezer said, "I'd like to follow you around. I'd like to watch you do your work. Your work for the Holy One, blessed be He in the world. I just want to follow you around and watch you do your work." Elijah the prophet said to Eliezer, "Sorry, you can't follow me around. You'll have too many questions, and I don't have time for questions." Rabbi Eliezer said, "I promise I won't ask any questions. Will you allow me the honor of watching me do your work?" Elijah the prophet agreed to that condition, and off they went. That particular night, when the two were looking for lodging, they saw a dilapidated shack, an old shack. They approached it and discovered that it was occupied by a poor young couple who owned little besides one skinny cow, which lived in the shack with them. They approached the young couple and asked for lodging, and the young couple greeted them warmly, welcomed them in, and gathered some straw to make it as comfortable as possible for the two strangers to spend the night. They offered the two guests what little they had, and Rabbi Eliezer and Elijah the prophet spent the night. The next morning when they woke, Rabbi Eliezer overheard Elijah praying to the Almighty, asking the Almighty to kill the cow. No sooner did Elijah finish the prayer than the cow suddenly dropped dead. Rabbi Eliezer was enraged. He said to Elijah, "What did you do? How can you ask the Almighty to kill the cow, take the life of the cow? They were such lovely people. They have nothing. How can you take their cow?" Elijah the prophet looked at Eliezer and said, "See, you have too many questions. You have way too many questions. I do not have time for your questions." Rabbi Eliezer, though confused, quickly responded, "Please, forgive me, forgive me, forgive me. I want to follow you. I won't ask any more questions." Elijah gave him another chance, and off they went. The next evening, they spied a big mansion as they were looking for lodging. In response to their knock, the owner of the mansion came out and greeted them quite abruptly and agreed they could stay in the cellar. He offered them no human warmth, no physical warmth, no food, and so down to the cellar they went. During the night, Rabbi Eliezer awoke hearing a commotion. He noticed that Elijah the prophet was totally patching up in a beautiful way an area of the cellar wall that was unfinished and crumbling. Like a skilled craftsman, Rabbi Eliezer watched Elijah pair and finish off the cellar wall. The next day, off they went, arriving at a synagogue of very wealthy congregants. The pews of the synagogue were made of gold and silver, but the people in the synagogue were cold and unfriendly. When Elijah the prophet and Rabbi Eliezer entered the synagogue, nobody greeted them. Nobody performed the mitzvah of welcoming guests. In fact, the two of them noticed people whispering about them behind their backs. Before they left the synagogue, Elijah looked at the congregation and said, "I pray that you should all become leaders." And off they went. They entered a neighborhood that was impoverished. The people were living in squalor, but they were lovely people, sweet, warm, gentle people, unfortunately living in poverty. Elijah the prophet looked at this neighborhood and its people and said, "I want to bless you that you should have a leader." It was at this point that Rabbi Eliezer could not hold his questions any longer. He said to Elijah the prophet, "I know that you're going to send me away. I know that you required me not to ask any questions, but I beg you, please, can you give me some understanding of what you've been doing? I don't understand anything that you are doing. I beg you, please, can you offer some explanation?" Elijah the prophet looked at Rabbi Eliezer and said, "I will explain my actions, but then you will have to leave." Elijah said, "Remember the first night when we encountered that poor couple living in the shack with their cow, and how enraged you were the next morning when you heard me praying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he should kill the cow? What you didn't know was that it was the time for the wife to die. I pleaded with Hashem, please don't take the wife, take the cow." You recall the next day when we were in that cold cellar of that rich man and you woke up puzzled when you saw that I was repairing that wall and fixing them up so beautifully? Elijah said, "I wasn't doing that. I knew that there was a treasure buried within those walls. The man that owned that mansion did not deserve that treasure. And so I patched up the walls so that a future generation could find it." Remembering the next day when we went to the synagogue that was so wealthy with the beautiful gold and silver pews, but all the people were so friendly, I noticed how confused you were when I said they should all become great leaders. That wasn't a blessing, it was a curse. For anyone who has been in a Jewish organization knows that chaos results from everyone thinking that he is a leader. And then we went to that poor neighborhood, and the people were so sweet and lovely, and you wondered, in comparison to the earlier so-called blessing, why I would say that one of you should be blessed as a leader. You see, that indeed was a blessing. I blessed them that one of them should become a leader. One good, strong leader who could take them out of the poverty and the squalor that they were living in. Elijah the prophet then said to Rabbi Eliezer, "You're going to leave me now, but please don't forget, what you see in the world is not the whole picture. It's only part of the grand picture in the mind of the Almighty." I chose this story because Jeremy often referred to us as individuals only being able to see one side of the tapestry of life. The other side, sometimes the more beautiful side, only the Almighty sees and understands. We can't understand why Jeremy has been taken from us now at such a young age. We only know that it's part of the grand picture of the Almighty. If Jeremy had asked me to marry him on our first date, I would have said yes. He was worth the 6 months of dating and waiting, but I knew from the first time I laid eyes on his smile, on his soul, I knew he was the mensch for me. Sweet and sexy, thoughtful, giving, funny, incredibly smart and insightful, and most importantly, honest. I have received over 1,000 messages over the last 2 days with so many blessings and memories about Jeremy and his goodness. I would be amiss if I didn't share with you what I thought Jeremy would want us all to do in his memory. While there are so many things we can have chosen to do and to send you home with, I send you home with just one. Be a mensch, Jeremy used to say. Jeremy was always thinking about the other guy, buying tefillin for my nephew so he would be proud at his bar mitzvah, helping others in various challenges they faced in life, coming up with ways he could use his intelligence, creativity, and time to make life better for others, avoiding saying bad things about others, and always giving people a chance to be the best that they could be. Be a mensch, he always said. And the perfect example of menschlichkeit is the care that we have received throughout the past 7 years as our family, and especially the past 11 months. I can only say that this was the greatest lesson we as a family have ever received, and I personally, in caring and giving. I would sometimes leave the hospital to spend time with the kids when I could. Arriving home, I would find food, things they needed for schools, fixed hearing devices. I would return to Jeremy and tell him about my discoveries. His response was, "Lisa, why are you surprised? People don't need to be told what to do. They just know how to be a mensch." This applies to everyone, every single person in this room, and those thinking about us from near and far. The past 2 days, people running into our home as they receive the news, coming from near and far, old friends and new, people that I haven't seen in over 20 years showing up at my doorstep from far away, staying for hours to make sure that the children knew how to handle and expect what to see today because they had never been to a funeral before today, sitting with them and reviewing the halachot of mourning, setting up the house, asking if they can go to the hospital and do shmirah on the body, and showing up at the door this morning and making us breakfast. Our friends and community who I never had to ask anything of, they just appeared, taking over, doing what was needed. Your exemplary fulfillment of Jeremy's mission of being a mensch will stay as a lesson with our family forever, and I hope will live in the hearts of all of us. So I leave you with this: do a Jeremy, be a mensch.